Hello, Western Civ 105, and welcome to week 5. I apologize for being extra informal. I actually have to move out of this apartment tomorrow. I had a misunderstanding with the management, which is easy to have happen when both people don't speak the same language. I am definitely humbled and learning the challenges of being a foreigner when, I've been studying some Thai, but, I had to get someone to come help me kind of resolve something. And then so now I have to kind of just we worked it out smoothly, but I still have to leave. I was just like, yeah. And this is traveling life. Sometimes things go smoother than other times. In any case, all is well. There's a saying in Thai, "Mai pen rai, mai pen rai." No worries, no worries. Okay, all right. So no worries. We got it resolved. In any case, we are almost done. This is going to be probably the hardest week. Well, let me rephrase this. This is really the last week for this class that you're going to have to work as much as you're doing the 3-chapter tackle. And after you finish this, next week, I'm really going to have you watch a series of documentary clips to then get you thinking about a topic of the current state of the West and for you to respond to that. And then you're going to have a final, which, to be honest, isn't as much work at all as compared to what you've been doing. So this is the final hurdle. So gear up, put some effort into this week, and then you're done. Now, we're taking on a lot, but we're taking on, I think, something very critical, very important. And I want you to know that, as you'll see from what I'm teaching in this week and what we cover next week, that my agenda is to get you on board with the drama that is unfolding as we speak within the broader Western world. And I'm not going to go through all that in this announcement. I'm just letting you know, giving you a heads up. This is highly relevant to your lives. Now, I'm going to mention this now, and I'm going to say this again. Many of these videos that I'm putting on are very ideological, and sometimes they put opinions in that are unnecessary to me or too much. I mean, I like to have nuance. And I don't mind, when you're in an activist mode, it's okay to just say very opinionated things. But for education purposes, I prefer something less, far left, far right, blah, 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 whatever. And sometimes I work with whatever I think gives me the best content. I'm not always on board with every way that they're approaching things. But anyways, just want to kind of clarify that in a very ideological world that we live in, what I'm trying to do. So we're going to cover World War II, Cold War, and the War on Terror. And they all do link up very much. You'll notice that you only have one paper on Sunday, though. But you're going to be required to formulate the correlation between World War II, the Cold War, and the War on Terror. And it's so important. It's so important because it'll help you understand to how we got to where we are at now. I have a lot of videos that are longer on the Afghan, Soviet, U.S. involvement prior to 9/11. I have one on Eastern Germany when they were under the Soviet occupation, and a documentary that is very nuanced in terms of showing you a wide range of opinions and feelings and experiences that people had under this regime that most of us think would just be one set of opinions on. And I just thought what's good about the video is that it does give you a better sense of that. But there's one thing that I want to clarify on that. Even though every communist state has essentially followed a Soviet model, the experiences, I think, are fair to say, are very different depending it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, and that's one thing that I want to clarify right here and now. So, for example, even if you watch the BBC series, the one where they then cover Czechoslovakia, which I don't have you do, the people in Czechoslovakia have a very different, I think, experience than the people do in Berlin. North Korea is completely off the grid. North Korea might be a communist state or set up in the same fashion, but I would argue it's a very different experience, and especially, let's say, to Cuba. So currently, there's still communist Cuba, communist North Korea, although North Korea has switched to an ideology they call Juche. It's a whole other topic. And then you have China, which the Communist Party switched to socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is a way to talk about incorporating lots of capitalism, or free market, or is it free? Private sector. There, that's a better word. A lot of the private sector involved in the state. So China, North Korea, and Cuba, still officially communist states, very, very different cultures, very, very different experiences with communism. That's my point. And there's a lot that I can tell you and to say about the current situation of the Middle East and the U.S. relations and Cold War and the post-Cold War effects and all that. If you have questions, if you have debates on anything, let me know. I do have this long podcast, and I write a whole bunch of stuff on top, basically saying that it's on the topic of whether or not Hitler was a socialist, leftist, or fascism was leftist. And I've been coming across this too much with students in the United States that I felt the need to address this false information. But as I've tried to say, I don't like to put any posts that like criticize. Okay, it criticizes Ben Shapiro, Crowder, and Dinesh D'Souza. I know many of my students like those people if they're more conservative and they follow their. And I would never be interested in playing something to try to go after someone's politics. But this is a history debate. And so I'm going to debate it, and I'm going to say that it needs to be crushed. Fascism, where it comes from. Just like the debate about the origins of the Civil War, whether it was over slavery or not. And it was. And that can be handled in about 2 minutes. But if you want to talk about that too, you can, but we're not covering that here. So listen, I just like to deal with facts and reality. And then your politics in regards to that is completely... I leave that to you, okay? So that's all. This announcement's already gone on for too long. Have a great week. We'll be in touch. Let me know if you need anything.